So thank you so much, Kutluhan, for having this conversation. And we just came out Natural Farming Weekend. It was a very lovely weekend, and a lot of people appreciated it. And we're here now in Spain. We're at a very dry area, the area of Murcia, where there's a lot of land which is turning into desertification. And for us, we moved here a year and a half ago. We're a little bit more up in the mountains, so we have a little bit more water, but it really touched us looking around and seeing all this. And you have some solutions, you have some gifts within you, some experience about natural farming, so we're very happy that you're here with us now. And maybe you can share, to start with, a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm a farmer, first of all. And after I have read the Fukuoka's book, I have decided to go deeper in it, and I decided to travel and meet with the students of Fukuoka and to see the applied part of the natural farming. So I spent around 7 years traveling around the world and living and meeting with the students of Fukuoka, and now since 2 years I'm a farmer on my own farm in Italy.
How was this for you, to see what you felt through reading these books and seeing this being accomplished in a more practical way, to see the results of what Fukuoka was writing about?
In the first moment when I read his books, it seemed to me like an utopia. It didn't seem real to me. But after visiting those farmers and being with them in their farm, living together, it really opened something in my heart, that I saw a living soil, awake soil, and that was the big changing point also for me.
Can you describe, because you say a living soil, an awake soil, I can imagine a lot of people don't know what that is. Can you describe it?
First of all, when you take this awake soil, a piece of awake soil, and when you smell it, you feel happy.
That sounds awesome.
Because there are some bacteria in the soil, in an awake soil, in a living soil. When they enter in the human body, they activate the serotonin hormone.
Wow.
So this is the first and the simplest indication, I guess, to see if the soil is awake or not. And then, of course, there are several more, but yes.
Now, you say you have your own farm now in Italy. Can you share a little bit more about this?
Well, it is in central Italy, in the Marche region, and it is around 2 hectares of farm. It was an old abandoned farm. Since I think over 12 to 13 years it was abandoned, and there were no activities. So I have taken over around 2 years ago, and now cultivating vegetables and grains, fruits. And
like when we think about farms, we think about 10, 15, 20 hectares, and you say, that you're cultivating on 2 hectares. It's such a small part. So how do you do this?
Well, actually, it is even a big piece of land. Like there is still a half an hectare I didn't even touch. So if one is using 100% of each square meter of land, 1 hectare is already more than enough for a person or for a family to sustain, from a point of view of food and also from a point of view of the economy. So
and to sustain, you mean that they can become self-sufficient?
Well, becoming self-sufficient, you don't need even 1 hectare of land.
Wow.
If you are talking about 3 to 4 person, a family of 3 to 4 members, it is enough to have 1,000 square meter of land in order to eat all year around the vegetables and fruits that are growing in that area, and maybe 2 to 3 kind of cereals.
That opens a lot of perspectives for people as well, I think, because we all have this idea that you need a big piece of land to grow your own food, and now you make it so accessible with sharing that 1,000 square meters is more than enough to feed a whole family. It makes it, manageable for everyone.
Yes. No, it shouldn't be bigger and bigger. This is a totally wrong idea. If you look at the agriculture and when the cultivation of in the bigger pieces, when the cultivating area, when they get bigger, the yield for each square meter is getting less and less.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need bigger piece of land, but we need to take care of 100% of our small piece of land.
How do you do that, taking care of 100% of your land? I have this idea, like a lot of people, when you think about farmers, you see the rows with the crops and then the tractors and they change it. And so can you share a little bit about the difference between natural farming and what we have as an example of normal agriculture, and then what it means to use 100% of your land?
Well, first of all, we don't use any machines, any tractors or any fertilizer, pesticides, any of these materials that are used in modern agriculture. And if you tell me what you do, the answer is nothing actually.
That sounds like an utopia, right?
But this doesn't mean that one is abandoning the land or laying down under a tree all day and doing physically nothing. Not in this way. But it is like a chicken living in the farm that wakes up with the sun and moves around all the day till the sun falls down again. But in the end of the day, it does nothing. But every action that it takes, it is already offering to soil fertility. So it is very similar to this. If one is living a natural life on a piece of land, already each action that this person is taking is offering to soil fertility without even having the intention of doing anything.
So we're doing a lot by just doing what we do in daily life without thinking
Yes.
about it, let's say.
Living a
Beautiful.
natural life.
Yes. You say you were inspired by Fukuoka,
Yes.
and he's speaking about natural farming. Why Fukuoka? What is so special about Fukuoka?
Well, for me, it was very important to see the philosophical part that Fukuoka was talking and the practical part that he showed to us, and they were becoming together in the natural way of farming that Fukuoka make a gift to all world. So that was a big call for me personally.
And can you say something, because I can imagine a lot of people don't know Fukuoka, what his philosophy is actually?
Well,
Shortly.
we have to talk days and days, I think, about it. But let's say from a point of view of the practical part, if we are talking about the farming activities, that is not plowing, not using any fertilizer, not using any pesticides, herbicides or fungicides. But as he also said, the main goal of the natural farming is not just to grow crop, but it's the perfection of the human beings. And that is the philosophical part of the natural farming.
What does he mean with the perfection of human beings?
To reach our own true nature, to see again, to reconnect again with our own nature. I believe that this was what he was meaning about the perfection of the human being.
We've came to a time where, especially here, as I already said, there's a lot of desertification going on. The areas are becoming very dry. It's typically for Spain, but all southern Europe, even Africa, America. And a lot of people are wondering how Fukuoka's legacy, his method, could be applied to change that, to turn our planet into a green planet again.
Yes. Well, this was actually his dream towards the end of his life, is to sow seeds in the desert. And as he proposed, which is the natural way of it, simply sow seeds, but to make them in the clay balls, seed balls, prepare them and then throw over the desertificated area. And the rest will be taken care by the nature.
That sounds so simple.
It is simple.
Even maybe people don't believe this is even possible.
But this is actually how nature is doing. Since millions of years. The trees, plants, bushes, they are just throwing their seeds and the life starts and continue. So what we do in this case, it is exactly the same. Just sow seeds, more seeds.
So we do the same as what nature does in a natural way, but we amplify it a little bit, let's say.
Yes.
When I listen to you, and this philosophy and method is touching us really deep as well. That's why we want to apply it on our own piece of land. But for a lot of people, it is so far removed from current society. If you look around you, the actions that are being taken,
Yes.
Our whole society is about money, is about, it's even hard to explain everything in words. It's some kind of feeling that we have to be part of something which is so not connected with who we are, that we cannot even see anymore
Yes.
what is possible for us and what is possible, for us as a human race, how we could live and how we could grow our own food and be part of this co-creation together with the earth. So what do you
Yes.
think about, or how would you say that people can take action? How can they find this part of themselves again?
Well, the easiest way to connect with our own true nature, first of all, to be silent and to remove all the noises that we have created artificially. And once we remove them, the way will appear in front of us. It is like a cloud day. The sun is always there, but if a day is cloudy, we are not aware or we are not seeing directly the sun. But in the moment that clouds disappear, we see the sun, which is always there. Like
Yes.
it is our true nature. It is always there, but it is just a matter of reconnecting with it.
I think this is not easy for a lot of people to find silence in the hectic of society nowadays.
That is quite difficult, actually.
Yeah. How? Can you give an example of how this is possible?
Well, in the first moment, it can be done that a person goes to a farm, to his field or her field, and then spends some time just walking around, just sitting without having any thoughts or any idea, any desire, even desire of awakening the soil. Just silently sitting and walking, trying to feel the soil, trying to feel the life itself. And then step by step the way will appear in front of us, because it is already there. It is just not visible because of so many noises that we have created artificially.
So instead of doing all the things that we think we have to do, and also there are so many practices out there, around farming and
Yes.
with structures and lists and all these kind of things. You say that we just let go and we be in silence with ourselves and with the piece of land, even a small garden if we have a garden, because
Yes.
some people don't have a big piece of land, or in a park if you're in a park. And out of this then the momentum, the action will come to make the first step.
Well, not in the park, I believe, because it
Okay.
is also artificial. It is not the real nature. It is created by a human being with certain ideas. But let's say some little piece of a forest, if we can just take a walk in the wild and spend some time, that will be easier. And the one's task is not to find the way to farm in a natural way, but just to remove all the boundaries that we built against it, because it is always there, present. And we don't need to look for how can I farm, but simply just remove everything that we built against it, and
That's
it will
beautiful.
appear.
Humanity is right now at a point in time where so many things are happening that we don't want, and we're further and further removed from our own nature. Except from being in silence, what can we do? Which decisions can we make?
Well, I believe the only decision that we can really take that will also help to change all this distraction that is going on around the world, desertification or any kind of distraction towards human beings and towards the nature, is to reconnect with ourselves. And if we make this decision consciously, and then all these artificial things that we have created, they will disappear even naturally. And this is the best decision that we can take, to reconnect with ourselves.
I remember during the weekend you shared that in the beginning, because the soil is so depleted, we need to bring in organic materials from outside because it's not there. And then after a while the soil takes care of itself, and it can sustain, and all the materials just come from the field and from nature itself. And Fukuoka is speaking about nothingness and doing nothing, right? You still give workshops. So my question would be, where is the connection between then giving workshops and the philosophy that you're sharing?
Well, I believe and I see that it is the workshops are not really about how to do the things, but it is simply holding a little light to the entry path of natural farming for each individual person who is ready for it. And it is just making a little light for the entrance door of this path, and then if one wants, then takes this path towards the inner world. And I believe the workshops are all about this. It is not a matter of what to do or how to act, but it is just a little light on this way. It will start with not knowing, just refusing all the human knowledge and falling in that place where everything is just very clear to see.
That might be very scary for people.
Unknown things might be scary for human mind, but it is our own self, nothing to be scared.
Yes. For us it happens slowly, step by step, that you understand that what you see outside of you is not true.
Yes.
And you start to realize you want to live a different life, and step by step you're making decisions in a very practical way to change your life and to see a different outcome, let's say, than what happened before. And now also, we're applying it here on the land, so it's also interconnected, society and then the natural farming and then the philosophy behind it, and what you shared, for example, this weekend about how they grow trees and the seeds. And I really felt with people this moment of silence where they were overwhelmed and they realized how far these actions are removed from their true nature as well. So it was kind of this point where you're confronted with brutal honesty, and you need to be brutally honest with yourself as well, and then make the decision, do I still want to be part of this? Do I still want to buy trees which are not natural or exploit the earth, or do I make a different decision and then fall into a huge gap and don't know what will come out of it, if I even will know what to do, and then connecting and waiting for this moment out of the silence that you do know what to do, and trusting that it's already inside of you.
Yes.
Yeah. We really felt a deep desire about being part of a different economy. And for example, what we do on appreciation base, and I see a very similarity with the way how you operate with your farm and the idea behind natural farming. Can you tell a little bit more about this?
Yes. Well, everything that comes out from the farm Shizen in Italy, where I am farming on, they are sold €2 per kilogram, everything, even the cherries, apples, and plums, tomatoes. It doesn't really change, because this is just to give the different prices to different fruits. It is just because of the economic models that we have. It is not because one is requiring more than the other. But from a point of view of nature, there are two trees, and one is producing apple, one is producing plum. Just we humans are making this separation, but for nature, they are two trees that are continuing their own life cycle. And this discriminates also in our mind to see the nature. So in order to eliminate this situation, we sell everything in a fixed price, which is €2 per kilogram. And another reason that it is such a low price, because we have no production expenses. There is no cost. There are no tractors, no petrol-based machines, no fertilizers, no pesticides. So this allows us to sell any price that we can sell. And this is a very low price because it is also reachable for everyone, not just a group of people, but it is natural foods are for everyone that are living in this planet.
Yeah, and it's crazy because now the system is that when you have organic food, you pay more for organic food.
Yes.
And it's actually just for a few. So what you see now in society is a separation, right? Because
Yes.
only people with more money can afford the organic food. And we will dive into the organic part in a little bit. The organic food.
Yes.
So when you share this to me, it really is so much connected with how we see a new economy, but then instead of with trees and fruits, with people. And when you have this kind of philosophy where nature has no preference and everything is the same and everything is equal, and when we take this view and we then see what is happening in the world right now with
Yes.
people, some people earn more money than other people because they have a higher degree, or there's so much suppression, there's so much abuse, there's so much sadness going on, and you see people that don't have enough and they're not equally valued. They have different skills, but for nature everyone is the same and everyone has the right to have a life where all the basic needs are covered.
Yes.
So for me, when you share this, is this also what happens when you get more and more connected with natural farming, that your vision is kind of opening up more and you start to integrate everything of society and this way of living as well?
Yes, because we have arrived to a point that, as you also mentioned, there is a very big separation between everything. But this separation starts within us. We are separated from ourselves. And this is just a projection of the outside world, that we are not connected with anything anymore. And once you start connecting with your own self, ironically, and the beauty of the life, you are connecting actually with everything also outside. It seems that it is inside, but actually it is everywhere.
It reminds me of, you shared that at one point your vision about growing your own food was more expanded, and you wanted to throw seed balls as well and
Yes.
be part of the reforestation. Is this also something that is part of that movement?
Yes, this was part of this movement of reconnecting with my own self. When I started growing natural foods, there came a moment I felt a very big need of sowing seeds in the desert. And I believe that this is the same process for everyone who starts to feel deeply with its own self and then connect with the whole planet.
So you feel like, let's call it a responsibility of being part of something bigger where you want to contribute to, which is much more than just what you need, but also for all the living beings on the planet, let's say.
We cannot create a little paradise and live inside alone.
Mm.
we are responsible of all this planet, and we have to act accordingly.
Yeah, that's. I really feel a big yes now in my system, like, and this is really a time to act right now.
We are the honorable guest in this planet, and we have to act in this way.
Organic farming, Kutluhan. The information I heard during the weekend, and it's actually already logical. You know, you see packages in the shop, they look the same.
Yes.
They are cultivated in a monoculture way, and it just has a label organic. So something feels in my body like, what is going on there? Can you share a little bit more about this and then the difference with natural farming?
Well, in organic farming, actually, it is another type of industrial farming. They still use big machines, big tractors, they plow the soil, and they use organic poisons.
Okay.
Let's call it like this. They don't use chemical fertilizers, they don't use chemical pesticides, herbicides or fungicides, but they use the organic pesticides, fungicides and herbicides.
So the same shit, let's say, sorry for my language, under a different label.
It is like this. You kill the same living beings in one way with the chemical substances, in another way with the organic substances. But in the end, what you are putting in the soil, in the nature, is always the poison with an intention of killing those living beings. So should we feel happy about it, that they are not killed by with chemical substances but with organic substances?
It's, you know, when you hear this, it's quite painful, because a lot of people think they actually contribute to a better planet with buying organic food, and they pay more for it. I did it. For a while I was a single mother with my 2 children. I had a little budget, but I felt inside that I wanted to keep buying organic food to give good food to my children, but also to contribute to a better planet. And then when I heard this, I was a little bit flabbergasted, like, what? Because people don't know.
Yes. Unfortunately, one who never thinks or looks deeply, closely at these things, we don't know. I was also not aware of it. But once we start looking at it, we see the real happenings that is already surrounded by, we are surrounded all the time with those happenings. And unfortunately, this society that we have arrived in this point, it is already fallen apart. There is nothing left anymore. So we have to create from the beginning everything. We cannot fix only one point or another point. It is not about only farming or organic farming or non-organic farming. But we have to take our responsibilities and start putting our hands and do things together. And start cultivating our food. If you like to eat healthy food, you need to cultivate your food. This is as simple as it is.
And this is where the responsibility lies for each one of us to decide, do we want this or not, and then take action in alignment with this decision, let's say.
We have arrived to the point. We have to take a decision. Do we want to change something or not? It is not we don't have much time to lose. We have to take a decision.
And a lot of decisions to take when you hear how it's all interconnected. And
yes,
fortunately, there are a lot of people who feel that it's time for change, and you see a lot of small projects coming up, families who want to have their own homesteading, grow their own food, communities gathering together, people who are doing wonderful things. And I hear what I heard from people now, like, this was the missing link. We did already a lot of things, but this is so simple, this is so natural that it seems too good to be true, like it's even impossible, but it is possible. Yes. And it opens up something inside of them, and they feel like sharing about this as well. So you feel that there's a movement with the weekends you give, that there's a light, as you explained, awakened in their hearts, and they want to be part of something and part of this movement, which also brings people together.
Well, it is just holding a little light for 2 days. It is nothing, but it is just opening this first light, and people see with their own. People see their own beauty that they carry in their heart, and then it is their own decision whether to go and keep on walking and seeing more and more and discovering more this beauty or not.
Mm-hmm. You see a lot of monoculture fields. Where do you think this monoculture is coming from?
Well, it is coming from the idea of having all the production in the same point, having at the same time, and using the same machines, same type of fertilizers, same type of pesticides, herbicides, everything. If everything is the same, it is easier to control. So it starts with the desire of controlling the nature, but that causes all the problem starts. When we started to farm in a monoculture way, it started a big distraction, and we have arrived to the point that today there is almost no agriculture in a conventional way. There is no almost conventional agriculture that is applied in a polyculture way.
Do you think it's about controlling nature or being in control of the capacity to, for example, feed their own family?
I don't believe that this is a conscious decision of a farmer. A farmer is a simple person.
Yes.
It is imposed to cultivate in this way. If we give subsidies to farmers to cultivate in a monoculture way, they will cultivate in this way. If the governments, if the states, they direct the farmers in a cultivate in a natural way or any other way that is not monoculture, but it is the way that awake the soil, they will do this. Why shouldn't they do that?
So it's like they don't take their own decisions, but they're just part of a system because this is what they have been taught.
Yes.
And now we're at this point where we are challenged to decide for ourselves and go into a different direction.
Yes.
Now, when you need to turn like 180 degrees, in the opposite than what you have been taught many times. And I noticed, for example, this weekend that you have people who don't know anything or just a little bit, and they're very open, but also farmers who have been applying methods for a long time. And then you see that there's a huge gap for them, because the way how they do it brings food on the table for their family, and they have this routine, this structure which they are doing. This is the life they have, and they don't know anything else.
Yes.
How to, I wouldn't say make them more aware, because you cannot force anyone, but what can we do there?
This is also my personal experience, that I have seen the farmers who were applying the conventional way of farming for many years. It is very difficult for them to accept or to even hear that what they have been doing actually was destroying the whole nature. So I believe that this truth, they don't even want to maybe accept it or see it, because one way or another they took this decision, or they were forced to take this decision, and this brought money to their families. That is true, but even not anymore. Like, we have arrived to the point, as a small scale conventional farmer, you cannot even sustain anymore your family. So it collapsed also in this point of view. But yes, for a farmer, it is very difficult to see and accept this truth, unfortunately.
If you then take this to a broader perspective, we all have been part of things that were abusive for the earth. I mean, when you look around, driving your car, putting the heater on, I mean, everything, most of our lives are abusive for the planet. And what helps for me is compassion, and to understand that maybe the one I was before took different decisions because I didn't know anything else, but I have in each moment the possibility to do it differently, and then have compassion for my actions because they came out of not knowing. And maybe there is a way to, if we're all open for the farmers in this way, that they also, out of this knowing, can then make a different decision or show them the results. Like you say, your farm is really thriving in Italy. You're possible to live from this, even when you offer your food just for €2 a kilo, and that you cultivate 100% of the land. If they just can have a physical experience of this,
Yes.
and they see how this is possible and how they then can have benefits from it for their own family instead of working so hard. Maybe this is a possibility to do so.
For sure, the best way of reaching to those people is to show the living examples.
Yes.
Not to talking with the words, but showing the living examples. But still, it is like an egg. If you break the egg from outside, there is no life. But if the egg breaks from inside, the life starts. So the change should come from inside. Or even for those farmers, we can show, we can create a good environment, but the real change should start from inside.
When people are touched and after the weekends you feel this, they want to connect more, there are different possibilities how they can connect. So you have your own farm in Italy, and there's a website, and people can come to you to volunteer and to spend some time on the farm.
Yes.
And then I know it was your dream as well to create something more globally, a connection between people, and we're making this possible now behind the scenes. So we're bringing all our gifts together, which is, I think, very beautiful as well. So we're setting up a website where people can have several, let's call it courses or instructions how to make their own vegetable garden, how to grow a natural tree, how to make seed balls.
Yes.
In Belgium there's a huge movement going on around natural farming. There will be a book coming up soon. This weekend we connected with someone who made a children's book about Fukuoka and the seed balls. Things will be translated. How can people be part of this? How can they connect? Can they write an email to Farm Shizen or?
No, of course, we can exchange some words, we can meet with each other, we can visit each other, and then sow seeds together.
And you're open to give more weekends as well worldwide?
Yes, if there is any interest, if there is any if there are any serious people, I would be happy to share those beautiful moments.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.